Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming, and this is From the Depths, and in the campaign mode on top of the Clemenceau, and we're making our way down the pocket towards the Lightning Hoods area. We've got our ships, we're escorted by the Colbert. There is also out there is the Daphne sub, you can just see it over there, and the Durance Souten, the supply vessel, which is actually going ahead to a resource point up ahead to go and mine some resources for the fleet. And we've got some air cover with some air groups being created. So with all these forces ready to take action, I've decided that since basically I'm at home looking after the family, it's about time I went ahead and removed some of these Xenos scum which are infecting the Netta planet, so that we can take over with our much superior forces of Dell's Imperium, of course. So first stage is going to be to use our new French forces, our carrier and the cruisers that are already up to Merzel Kabir, and take out some of those sneaky Lightning Hood areas. So I'll just pull everything out for the moment. So we have our supply vessel is going to remove all of these materials from this area and bring it to our carrier fleet, and our carrier is going to go down here to the south to take over with these areas and just see how far we can get into the Lightning Hoods areas. We've got a couple of air fleets. Here's an example, which is a standard one, is 4 Super Etendars and 2 Crusaders, and we do have 2 of those air fleets around. If I can find the second one, there we go. This one currently is patrolling above the carrier fleet, but we'll bring it up into the main area, I think, now, ready for combat operations. And the idea being that these will provide the majority of the combat force at range, and the carrier force will sit back at as maximum a range it can, just supplying these, and then obviously adding its own forces. And then finally we do have the cruiser group, which is a bit short on resources, but that's the Galissonière, Le Terrible and the Fantastique, which will provide the sea forces closer in, whilst the Colbert stays basically with the carrier as close in protection. So we'll see how that goes against these 2 forces. Then we will mop up the front edge, I think, of the Lightning Hoods, and then make our way into this resource zone which I want, and hopefully using a lot of aircraft and long distance we shouldn't have the problems of running aground. Even here, you know, the AI is certainly in combat mode is not great at stopping the ships running aground anywhere near any land, basically. I know they've worked on it, but I think it's okay for very small ships, but for large ships where it does, I've said this before, where it doesn't have the turning circle, the AI is not good, and maybe I'll have to work on a rewrite my own version of the AI, but I just don't feel that that's I don't think that's a good idea. Anyway, let's get on with the battles. So we'll zoom up to the point where we're ready to do some fighting. So after the first square, which was a bit of a test and noticed a few issues with planes, so corrected them, we're now up to our first little 35, which is not big, but we'll see how it goes. This is the first test of the tactics I want to use for the carrier group. So the plan is the carrier group sits in the middle of this square, and its resource area, and the red is for basically aircraft only. So all the aircraft sit in the red zone to get resupplied. And the idea is we've got these two air groups just inside the red. And what I'm going to do to trigger the next combat is just tell one of them to go forward and straight back again. That will trigger the combat, so I can actually then get into combat with the carrier group. So if we take as example this one, we just take it into the area and then tell it to come back again.
Moving out.
Whoops, that one didn't work. I got to hold the shift button. Let's try that again. There, hold shift. And then come back to here.
Moving out.
And then go back to the carrier group, so the carrier group will initiate the combat. And then we'll sort out the aircraft. So we should have, there we go, we've got an aircraft. We'll initiate combat straight away. Our aircraft didn't quite get back to their resource zone. Must remember to allow them to get back into the resource zone. Oh well, never mind, eh? So we'll take that off, and then what we'll do is we'll bring in aircraft. What are we up against? Mainly ships. Okay, that's fine, nothing special. And see, everything's in. The only difference we'll make is the, let's see, we'll have the, oh, these have all got a bit moved around, doesn't matter. We have the Clemenceau and the Colbert up there first, and then everything else, all the aircraft come in afterwards. Okay, so that's the plan. Let's see how that works in practice. All the aircraft launched nicely by the looks of it. They I did a bit of adjusting of their spawning points, and they launched quite nicely. That will go one little crash of a helicopter, but that's, I'm not too worried about that at this second. But they all launch reasonably well by the looks of it. That's nice. And now we'll go and see what their combat is going to be like. We had a bit of a problem with the Crusaders missiles previously, but let's hope that won't be a problem here. We've got a lot of anti-missiles going out. Someone obviously was firing missiles at our aircraft, at our ships. I think there's some flashes going around. Yeah, we got quite a bit of air-to-air, air-to-ground combat effectively going out here. The Etendals are doing their dogfight missions. It is just what I want, firing their missiles in at the targets. Even the fast ones, they're getting quite nicely, I think. Got a lot of lag here, so let me just let the combat settle down a bit. And the lag's finally given up. I think there was a collision happening, which always seems to cause a substantial amount of lag. But okay, we're doing against these flashes quite nicely, coming in and taking them out with our missiles, and I think we're doing quite well. Didn't get most of the combat because of that lag. I was just trying to work out what was going, but yeah, as I say, collisions. But we didn't get anything getting close to us, and our aircraft are getting resupplied at their point. So at the end of the mission, what then needs to happen is if we do a pull all, and then what we would do is in the main carrier group, if it created any non-drone aircraft, so for instance here it did create one Elise, so we scrap that, and basically we scrap them to bring back the resources to the carrier so that it can spawn. It actually created two more super intendars, so we'll bring back them, not the Colbert, we want the Colbert. We'll repair everything that needs repairing. Everything in there's alright. Oh, there's one Etendar got destroyed, possibly crashed, or just got caught by a missile. Now, again, annoying things. The last waypoint, the aircraft don't go back to their last waypoint. So we don't, it's okay if you've got one. If your aircraft have got or fleet has multiple, like a patrol, it will carry on. But if it's only got one waypoint, it, as you can see, stops, and I have to go and reselect it. Not a problem, just more annoying. And our long-range patrol air group has done some reconnaissance of the village of Icewatch and has found it's a particularly nasty village because they've been stockpiling toilet paper. So we need to really eradicate them and share out all of the wanted TP to everybody else. So we're going to do a long-range precision attack against the village of Icewatch. We've cleared out a couple of zones, but we are now running dangerously low on material, which means we could do with those resources from the village, and we may have to go and resupply after this attack. We will also try and take out, I think, this resource zone here to take it away from the lightning hoods, but we'll see how this first attack goes first off, to see how much resources and fuel we have left after this adventure and the resupply of TP. And it looks very much like they are trying to protect their gathered resources. They've been out scouring the area for all of those resources, and yeah, I think we've got long-range missiles. Our exocets should come in and do a fair bit of damage to the enemy village and treat them in a way which is suitable to their Xenos heretic ways. And the looks like the anti is going for the defensive structures first, which is always good, and this main resource area looks like an office block actually, more than anything, but to me it's just a sign of these enemies' heretical ways. So yeah, we definitely need to get rid of it. Come on guys, I think you can fire a few more missiles out than that. Seems like, yeah, we're doing quite well. They're getting taken out, but we've got to do precision strikes on these resource areas, because I want to recover the resources, not destroy everything. With the final structure taken out, that's another square for our faction. And we can move on to taking out the primary resource zone of the enemy, although it looks like they are moving forces up. We've got a couple of groups coming into this square, and also it looks like this group of, it looks like fairly old retired ships are coming out to play. So we're going to need to go and have a look at recovering our troops first. And these are some of the old guard, shall we say, which we may not see in future versions of this game as they've been retired, so we might as well retire them permanently. The Inquisitor seems to have decided that he's going to become a submarine, but the other ships, of course, these are one of the ones that decides not to go anywhere. Fortunately, it doesn't float. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully, I think I'm going to get the submarine out on this one, and we've got our forces are making their way in. Although I think they're having a bit of a problem, and they're not wanting to detect them. They're obviously at too far a distance from their start point, and they're not being detected, which is a pain. So it looks like there is a limit of 5,000 meters and some of the ships were not getting detected initially, so yeah, it wasn't immediately going into a combat situation, and they were sticking in fleet. That's okay. I think 5,000 meters is more than enough if it's further than that, but to get around there, I'm just trying to think. I'd have to either use fleet moves or have a control block that says every little while just go to combat mode anyway. That'd be difficult, because how would you know when you actually want to go to fleet mode? Anyway, this Tesla is coming in, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's having a good go against our missiles, because it's got quite a lot of anti-missile pods on it, and they're shooting down a lot of the Etendar's missiles. Now once if a few of them get taken out, then that should improve things, but at the moment, yeah, it's doing quite a nice job against us, or it's surviving, let's put it that way. I'm not sure exactly why the aircraft will not detect and or attack these aircraft. They've all gone into fleet mode. Must be something to do with the fact that these are retired craft, I guess. That's a little annoying. Hopefully that won't. That's just a. We didn't have a problem with this like this in the previous battle, so I'm just going to put it down to something to do with these are old, no longer existing in the game craft, and it's for some reason just not wanting to attack them. Oh, some are now. That's a bit strange. And the Lightning Hoods have come in on a sneak attack on our carrier group with a cathode and a few other flashes which have got taken out, but the cathode is quite a large enemy flying thruster craft, so yeah, it's got a lot of missiles if it gets in close to our carrier or cruiser. So it will be interesting to see how this gets taken out by our Crusaders. They seems like some of our ships are getting in close, maybe a little too close to each other on that particular occasion, but such is life running with lots of aircraft. They are hopefully taken out. You can see it's very well defended against missiles, although its underside seems to be taking a bit of damage, and it can't cover against the sheer volume I've got coming in at the moment. It also seems to be concentrating on the Colbert. The Colbert it's seeing as a more dangerous opponent than the carrier, which isn't a bad thing really. I also did give it increased radar and infrared signature, so they will tend to go after it for missiles, but it's interesting that the lasers are also targeting the Colbert as a priority. Not a problem really. I think maybe the amount of weapons, obviously their priority is more based upon weapons, and although the carrier is a large ship, it doesn't actually carry that many weapons on board. So lots of damage being done to this. You can see missiles coming in all over the place now on it. I think our Crusaders got high enough. Our Crusaders are coming in with shots. You can see the shots also coming in from their machine guns, and the missiles, once they get in close to this cathode, I think so far we've been able to weather the storm, although our resources are now somewhat depleted with repairs and use on the steam engines. We haven't got we haven't recovered as many resources as we have used so far. I think it's a fuel problem. So basically, our aircraft are running low on fuel, and yeah, our aircraft carrier has basically run out of fuel, and it can't produce enough to support them because we're run out of resources. These aircraft are very fuel hungry, I've got to say. So okay, that explains why we are having a problem with the aircraft. Not handy, but at least it explains it. It's not a bug, it is just that yeah, we've run out of fuel. We are firing missiles when they can, but yeah, we're down to yeah, that's a bit of a problem. So it looks like our refinery still got taken out, so our refinery is not producing any fuel at the moment because it got basically damaged by something, which is not handy at all. Our missile systems are firing at the cathode as quick as it can, so it is trying to put out some damage against it, but we have received various bits of damage over the aircraft carrier, which is obviously not helping. Hopefully this crow, yeah, this one, as it's coming to the right zone, is launching its missiles at it, so hopefully this cathode is not gonna last that much longer. Between that and hopefully, where's the Colbert? The Colbert's over there. That's how you can see its guns are firing, although it looks like we are going for a bit of a collision. Please don't crash into the carrier. That would not be a good thing to happen. Disaster just about diverted on the collision just by adjusting the anti-collision control block a little bit, made it go into reverse, which is beneficial, but yes. Not sure why you're stuck on. I'm not sure how this cathode is still flying. There's it's taken substantial amounts of damage, but still it's persisting in staying in the air, which is rather surprising really, but yeah, we've got shots coming in, missiles coming in. I think seems to be, is that destroying itself now? I'm pretty sure that must be showing us 2 damage, surely, with that a number of blocks coming off like confetti. I think finally I can get back to the ship and back to the map and get out of this final little surprise visit by the Lightning Hoods. And on the bridge of Le Clemenceau, we are heading back to our own waters now. We have secured a bit of a buffer zone, but there's a few bits that need to be changed. We need to resupply. Our resources are frightfully low. We've actually run out on the carrier. Our fuel also is pretty low, so the Colbert is escorting us back to our home waters. And I'm going to make a change, I think, to the way the carrier works. We're going to keep, obviously, the docked aircraft here, but I think I'm going to have a second set of aircraft. So rather than having the spawned-in aircraft using the spawner, they will be just a drone set of aircraft that automatically launch on basically a second deck of aircraft. So we're going to double up on the aircraft and have another set which spawn in at the beginning with the aircraft carrier, and not do the spawning in automatically. We'll use a little bit more of the air groups and then use the air group in the spawn them in as required. It'd be give a. I'm just thinking, use this as a resource platform rather than a spawn system. It was spawning in a lot of aircraft and wasting resources because they were not spawning in properly, getting destroyed or unnecessary. It was a good idea I think on there, but it doesn't really work in the actual campaign and in the battle. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a rework of those, turn off the control blocks, but spawn in some aircraft and maybe just dock them. So each of the docking systems will be a double, have basically dock 2 aircraft. We'll put another one on there, sort of stack them up, and we'll work on that anyway and just see what I can do. But I think that might be an idea. And then put a couple of more independent air groups out there to do it. But otherwise it works. I just also, the only other problem with these aircraft, not a problem, something that I have to take into account, is they use so much damn fuel. The fuel refinery is now working, but it's only a 72. This was supposed to be just for emergency use. It's 72% efficiency. The one on the bases is 180 something percent efficiency. So we do need to make sure this is stocked up a little bit better. The Durance, which is our supply vessel, has almost taken all of the materials from that zone, so we can bring that into over to replenish, rebuild and go for the next fight. So tomorrow what I'm going to do is basically take this resource zone, I think do this 200 and the 200. We're going to basically work on the next level once I've had a chance to resupply and change the way the air groups work. So we've got these air groups like here, and this was another one from Made Forces, etc. So I'm going to use these and create another one which is going to be use the LEs, which is going to be a anti-submarine group, and basically use these air groups to spawn in depending on what we're against, rather than necessarily relying solely on the carrier spawning in the aircraft. So that we've already got them created. I think hopefully that should work a little bit better. As always, leave any comments down below. If there's anything else that you think would be a good one. I haven't finished with this carrier group. This was the first battle to see how it performed. I'm happy with it. The video wasn't great. It got a little bit laggy, so it was not as much battle scenes as I would like. It was still a lot of me sorting out problems rather than seeing any great amount of battle. Primarily because of resource shortages on fuel, etc. It caused more problems than I expected. Now that I know, I can solve it, and we can resolve that as a longer term problem. Otherwise, I quite like this carrier. It looks quite nice, and it works. So hopefully everyone is still playing the game, enjoying it, and looking forward to the new patch that's come out. If you're doing on dev version, which is the start of the new AI system. I'm not using a dev branch here, so I'm sticking on stable for the moment, but it's interesting, and we will certainly have a look at that once it goes into stable, so we can see how the campaign will change. But it's very interesting what they're looking at doing, so I'm very intrigued to have a go of it when I can. So everybody, stay safe, but remember, don't be selfish and help other people that may not be as healthy or as happy as yourself at the moment. Don't forget, we're a community and we must help, whether it be a game or in real life. Make sure you help others as much as you expect to get helped yourself. Keep playing the game and have fun.